watching the Original Music Podcast. With your host, Raymond Hemms.
Driving with the top down. Driving with the top down. I'm getting ready. You pick me up at 8. My hair had a perfect night till you dropped the top down and the wind blew it all around.
All right, here we are, episode 65. Tonight we have Jenny Grace out of Nashville, another country artist. We just had Lyle Mannering on, and that was a lot of fun. So how are you doing tonight, Jenny?
I'm very well. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Nashville, is it unseasonably warm there tonight?
Yeah, it's a little bit. I actually have the AC on, so I have my jacket on because I don't like any humidity. I'm just northern blood through and through. Like I don't really like the heat. So
yeah, it's funny. it's funny you say that. I actually just turned the AC on and 10 minutes ago, and now I'm like, oh man, it's cold in here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm here in Atlanta, and I think we were in this almost 70s today. It was crazy. So,
yeah, it's nice. It's summer's coming. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too.
I don't really like the humidity. That's the one thing I wish like it was like California where you don't have the humidity. You know, I don't like the humidity.
Yeah, California, San Diego might have the best weather on the planet.
I know it does. Yeah. I know. I love it.
So you made your way down to Nashville from the Northeast. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Connecticut, so a little tiny state. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know much about Connecticut. Is that kind of a rural with a lot of trees, or is that suburbs and cities?
It's a little of both. If you ever seen the movie Mystic Pizza, that's the best way to describe the little state. So if you've seen it, that's kind of what it's like. So
Gotcha. So did you grow up, with horses around and stuff like that? How did you grow up?
Yeah, I actually used to take horseback riding as the English style. Yeah. And I grew up between Connecticut and Vermont. We spent a lot of weekends up in Vermont. We had a lot of land. You know, I was always running around in the river, shooting rifles, running from bears. Just kind of a country girl, even though when I was in the Army, people thought I was not country because I was from up here. But we do have a lot of country. I mean, this is the original founding fathers were from New England. So people forget that,
Yeah. Well, when the founding fathers were around, there were no interstates and, cement everywhere.
My neighbors in Connecticut have horses right up the private drive. They have horses, they have chickens, it's like anywhere in Georgia where you are, you have rural too, so.
Yeah. I prefer that myself. Too much concrete gives me anxiety. So,
me too.
Having some trees and a stream. I love having running water.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah. So, as far as your music goes, how did you get started singing and writing songs? When did that start?
So, yeah, I started doing that when I was about 20. I was overseas on deployment location, and we had some downtime. And I just started thinking how are songs written? There's 3 chords. What are people writing about? And I just started. My very beginning songs were simple and, because I started learning guitar at 20. So it was easier to start writing songs then because you just it's something you do, you deconstruct the song and then you're like, oh, how could I write this? So started then and it's not stopped since. So
yeah. Do you remember your first chords what were the first set of chords that you learned?
I learned C. Mm-hmm. I learned G, D. I was learning Free Fallin' because I love Tom Petty.
Sure.
I played Wonderwall a lot. So, E minor, that kind of stuff. And, I'm still not like a John Mayer guitar, but,
Right,
I don't really need to be because I'm more of a singer. So
Sure. You just need to bang out, this is our chord progression, and this is what I'm thinking on the bridge or the chorus, and, does that, does it work?
Yeah, and now I do Nashville numbers. I'm like, okay, this is 154, this whole song. And it's so much simpler than, people think. They think it's hard, but it's actually simpler, I think. So
yeah, as long as you understand, like if the song key is in E, what's the 4, what's the 5, that's kind of where it gets kind of weird for people. And but yeah, we were just literally talking about Nashville numbers on the last episode, and those guys in the studios in Nashville, there's not even a second guess of what's the 2 of this. They're just amazing musicians up there, huh?
This is how these people make their living. So,
Sure.
You can't blame them. They're very good at it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess, though, also, if somebody comes in, to the studio, and obviously they're paying, and if there's something that just absolutely doesn't make sense, it's kind of their job to bring it up. I mean, if there's some, if there's something a songwriter comes in with that is just abstract and not in a cool way, I think it's kind of their job to say something.
If you're in a vested situation where there's a prominent producer, they're going to say something. They're going to be like, hey, this doesn't really work.
Yeah.
You need to change this. And I've had suggestions made too. And, they do know what's commercial, because a lot of these people are nominated for CMA of the year, and they're musicians that are on the major label records. So you got to take what they say.
Yeah.
I take what they say. I listen, because I'm like, okay, this person has a CMA and I don't. So obviously,
I think they call that wisdom. I think that's, that's, you gain wisdom by listening to.
You got to have an open mind, though, because I know people that from back where I live that are so egotistical that if they went into a studio like that, they would just probably walk away, because you have to leave your egos at the door, with that kind of thing. So
yeah. And I think that also comes with, for me personally anyway, with some age. When I was younger, I might have been a bit more headstrong, and I try to be nowadays. I try to be like, well, let's try your idea. Let's try it, and sell me. Sell me a new Land Rover. If it's as good as leather seats, heated seats, an awesome car, I'm gonna go with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's also, I think, maybe not the musicians that are on the sessions job. It's kind of more the producer, right? Can tell me about who you've been working with to produce your material.
I've been working with Bill McDermott. He's really good. He's out of Nashville and Omni Studios. And then on the song Ghost, I worked with someone named Kent Hooper, who's in Franklin, Tennessee. And, they know that I don't want the typical country radio sound, corporate country. I want a Chris Stapleton, Morgan Wade, when she first came out, type of sound. I don't want something that's typical. And so, you got to tell them what you want, because they don't know unless you tell them. So.
Right. Yeah. Do you find that it's, helpful for you to say, I'm looking for a sound like this artist or this particular song or this style, to kind of get them in the right mindset for producing the song?
Yeah. There's different colors. When I was doing Ghost, they were like, well, what do you want for guitars? And I'm like, well, give me parachutes from Chris Stapleton, that's the tone I want, you know, and that's what they did. Because originally the demo was really good. We had my co-writer playing on a really Western type guitar, and it's something you would hear from a 70s Western movie.
Oh, nice.
And it was really cool.
Yeah.
It was really cool, but it's just that's not modern. So,
right.
we changed it up.
Yeah.
So.
a buddy of mine sent me a track, and he's like, "Hey, can you put some guitars on this?" And I was like, "Well, I could, yeah, sure, I can do that, but it's going to come out sounding like what I want it to sound like. What do you want it to sound like?" And he said that exact thing. He said, "Spaghetti Western. I want 70s spaghetti Western." And I was like, "Okay, let me work on that." And that's actually kind of the fun for a musician, is to give them a a recipe for, this is what I'm thinking it should have, some cinnamon, some of this, but do your thing, And so it's kind of fun to search for tones that you're thinking, okay, they might like this, and then you send it over, and if it's a win, it's like, yes. And if it's like, can you do that over? Then I was like, oh man.
Yeah. I do demo singing, so I know what you mean. Like, I have people that are just like, they're just so picky, and that's why I have a limit of like 3 times I'm doing it, because I'm like, you don't even like hear, you don't even have a musical ear if you're, like some people are just like, really, so you just have to have a limit. And luckily, I've been lucky enough when I have my studio musicians play, they just hit the nail on the head every time, and they just always get it right. So I've been lucky, but I've heard stories where people go in there and they ruin the songs. So it just depends who you have as a producer. And luckily I've had like good producers,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So in what year did you make your way down south to Nashville?
So I came down in 2019. I was there right before, everything crazy started happening. I actually left right before those horrible tornadoes came in 2020.
Oh, yeah.
Which killed people, which was horrible. Yeah. The first tornadoes that came down in 2019, I was actually downtown in an apartment, and I slept through them. I don't even hear them.
Oh, wow.
Like,
you must be a heavy sleeper.
Yeah, I unfortunately very much am. So, fortunately, maybe I wouldn't have felt it or whatever, but it was not good. And then, so I left right before 2020, and then I came back in 2022, and I've been here since. I love it. So it's very up and coming. People think like, oh, you're in the middle of the South. I'm like, no, you don't know. No. It's like the LA of the South.
It really is.
It's not. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I think oddly enough, right before the show, I was like, I haven't listened to, Mick Mars from Motley Crue. Famously has been left or ousted or whatever happened. Well, he just released a solo record, and I was checking it out before we came on, and I think I heard that he is actually living in Nashville and recording in Nashville now and everything.
There's a lot of people, like Sheryl Crow has lived there for years. The guy from Fuel, the singer, he has a new band. He's living down there. Like Kid Rock, like everyone you could think of is there. There's a lot of people there. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing that I don't think a lot of people understand is like, you got metal guys there. You've got you can walk down the street and hear, old school country, modern country rock. You can hear country rap. The next bar you go down to, boom, they're playing Black Sabbath. Everything musical is there. If you
that's why it's Music City. Someone sent me a video of Johnny Depp in a Broadway bar like a month ago, and he was just sitting there by himself, and I don't remember what Broadway bar it was, but like, so you never know who you're gonna see, Yeah.
Well, that's a guy that went through an interesting year or two last year, a couple of years.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's what happens when you marry crazy people.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Let's take a listen to a track. We're going to listen to the track Dreaming.
Okay.
Is there anything that you can tell us about leading up to what that's about?
Yeah, so that was written kind of like someone sent me the musical composition, and I came up with the lyrics in like 20 minutes, and it's got a real country pop hook, but, I think it has darker chords in it too, so it kind of like is not that generic and stuff, and it's just kind of like about like someone you can't stop thinking of, so it's just a love song.
Nice. All right, well, let's check it out. This is Dreaming by Jenny Grace.
have such different lives, and this distance seems so far away. And I don't really know you, but somehow it feels like I do. All that I can see is that you're always in my energy. One look from you, and my heart is on fire. I know I shouldn't, but sometimes I think about you and dream about you. Oh yeah, I know I couldn't tell you just what I'm feeling, so now I'm dreaming of you. Did I know you in another time? Seems like our worlds collide. And now that you're here, there's nothing that seems clear. Tell me what you mean when I look into your eyes. Turn me upside down. No, I can't forget you now. I know I shouldn't, but sometimes I think about you and dream about you. Oh yeah, I know I couldn't tell you just what I'm feeling, so now I'm dreaming of you. I'll be dreaming of you. I'll be dreaming. Tell me, do you dream of me too? I know I shouldn't, but sometimes I think about you and dream about you. Yeah, I know I shouldn't, but sometimes I think about you and dream about you. Yeah, I know I couldn't tell you just what I'm feeling, so now I'm dreaming of you. Dreaming of you. Dreaming. Tell me, do you dream of me too?
Yeah, that's an awesome track. I really like a lot of things about that track. Mostly how out front the vocals are. I have notes here saying, bam, that lead vocal is right out front. But that banjo roll to intro the song is really cool. Was that intentional? Was that the impetus of the song? How was that, brought out?
Yeah, so my co-writer, he is from Ohio, and his family runs a lot of bluegrass roots. His name is Brian McKeever. Right now he lives up in New York, but he's got that in him. So, he came up with that hook, and that was really the theme to the whole song. It's just like, that's the hook to the song. And sometimes like a little lick like that will just give you the inspiration to write the whole thing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it definitely gives a vibe. It gives the vibe of the song. But then, like on the choruses, man, you've got a lead vocal and like 2 or 3 stacked harmonies. Is that you doing all the harmony with yourself?
Yeah, so we had male harmony as well, and then just I was coached, by my producer. I'm usually decent with harmonies.
Sure.
But it's still like, you got to make sure you can hit the notes. So
Sure. Yeah, well, you're kind of hitting some high notes. Your range is kind of up there. Were you trained as a singer? What was your background singing before?
Not really. My great grandmother was a spinta soprano.
Wow.
or coloratura. And so I think I just got those genes somehow. I guess it like skipped generations.
Sure.
And so really like I probably belong in the metal genre or something, or rock, because I can go really high.
Right.
But I try to put it in the country because there are some singers in country music that do go very high. I mean, you have Alison Krauss.
Yeah.
You have like Emmylou Harris. I mean, those people are like super high. Even Dolly's.
Yeah,
like,
I was going to say Dolly.
pretty high. Yeah.
Dolly seems up there in that range.
She's like soprano, I think. Carrie Underwood also stretches herself pretty high, or she used to. And so, I don't think there's rules anymore. Country has become like the rock genre anyway. So
yeah, it really has. It's opened its arms to so many different styles.
I like people that can sing lower though. Like I really, I like Ella Langley. She's new. She's like got a great like alto range. Like that to me is just so nice. It's just, I don't know. I was born soprano, so I can do low, but you just like, I don't have like that super low, like husky voice, you know?
Yeah. Well, so. I mean, you're like I say, you're up there, and then even the harmonies are even higher than, your lead vocal. Were those hard to track? Was there any, studio assistance or any of that kind of stuff going on, or are you just doing it?
No, my producer doesn't really use too much of that. I think just, I mean, a lot of singing to the radio over the years, a lot of like, I don't know, like just high register just comes natural to me. Yeah. Now, if you were to tell me to go do like, who's a low singer, like, I don't know, I probably couldn't do it, like whoever, a low singer.
Miley kind of sings low, doesn't she?
I think so. I can't think of someone who's really low. Like, tell me someone really low. I can't think.
And in the female side, yeah.
Oh, Mariah Carey. I can't do like. I mean, she's like E3 or something. Like, I can't do that. Like, I'm just not built like that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that was going to be one of my questions. There is, and I'm not going to act like I know what that soprano thing that you talked about your great grandmother did is. Are there levels? Okay, so you got alto, you got soprano. Are there layers above that?
Yes, there are. I mean, so like you have, girls that can do alto, and then you have mezzo soprano, which is kind of like what Carrie Underwood is. And then you can do soprano, which is what Christina Aguilera is. That's what I am.
Yeah.
And then there's like, when you're in operatic world, you'll call it spinto soprano, you'll call it coloratura. And there's just like different colors to the voice. Like I think they call Christina Aguilera a spinto soprano because she's got that powerful like chest voice.
It's not it's not falsetto, right?
Yeah, it's just she'll hit like a high note in full power, and I can do that too. But like I said, like country, like you don't really hear too much of that.
Right.
It's really in metal or rock that you really like. I mean, you think of Pat Benatar, you think of like Ann Wilson, you think of like. Yeah, like those are the people who are really doing that high range. You don't see too much of that in country because it's just the genre doesn't really call for it.
Right.
It's like, no, there's so many singers in Nashville that can do that. I mean, there's a girl called Maggie Rose who does like rock in Nashville, and she's like insane. Like she's so good. So.
Maggie Rose.
Yeah, look her up. She's like amazing. And I don't know. Like I think she's touring now. She's got like a very rock voice.
Right.
So.
There's the dog that we talked about earlier.
Yeah, sorry. I got a lot of dogs.
Hey, how many dogs do you have?
I have 4 Goldens.
Wow.
So yeah, they're annoying.
Yeah. Well, that might be a lot. You're not on the farm in Connecticut anymore.
No. Yeah. Well, I have a house in Nashville, but there's less dogs here than there is up in Connecticut. So I have a dog here that's down with me, and then another dog. So there's 2 in here, which is not the normal 4. So.
Oh, gotcha. And do they all pretty much get along?
Yeah, the 4 that are in Connecticut, they all get along. They're all Goldens. Yeah. There's 1 lab here, so it's. It's just like basically who is going to get the ball. Right. That's basically what it comes down to. It's the hardest part of the night.
Yeah. And we'll go off topic here because I love dogs too. Do like breeds, like if you have 4 Goldens living together, do they get along better than if you have, a bulldog in the middle of that? And if they're all female, do they get along better than if there's, mixed genders?
I think it's just, whatever
Personality.
it's random.
Yeah.
It's random. Yeah. I mean, because it just comes down to personality. Every dog has a unique personality. And back home, I have 2 girls, 2 boys. They're all golden, but like the youngest, who's 3, she dominates everybody, and she will dominate the boys.
Yeah.
I mean, the girl, and I'm just like, she's the smallest too. And I'm like, this makes no sense.
Yeah.
So,
well, they have a language. I mean, she must be telling them something. I'm going to take your food in the middle of the night.
I don't know what she's doing, but she's like got like a short man complex or something.
Yeah. Napoleon. Yeah. I just watched.
She's so small. She's only like 50 pounds. I'm like, why are you bossing everybody around? You're like half their size.
Yeah. More energy than the others. I guess.
And I think she's also intimidated because she's so tiny. So she like has to
Yeah. So let's talk about. So we already talked about you learned the acoustic guitar and pretty much the cowboy chords is what we call them. Up at the nut and that kind of thing. What was your first guitar and what's the background on that story?
So my first guitar was, I would steal my dad's 12-string, but I get in trouble.
Yeah.
But my real first guitar that was mine, it was a Takamine, and my dad shipped it out to me at a deployment site, and luckily it made it over in one piece.
Wow.
And it was beautiful. Yeah, I missed that Takamine. I left it over at the deployment site, sadly. But
bad move.
I know, but I had to leave on a helicopter, and I was like, how am I going to do this? Like, we're going to leave it here.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that expensive, but it was nice because my first guitar and there's memories, but I need to get another Takamine because that's really I love those guitars.
Yeah. Okay. So Takamine, if you're listening, we need an endorsement over here,
Yeah.
So you had that guitar and a couple of things that I'll unpack out of that. He shipped that to the Middle East and it made it in one piece. Who was the
I guess you could call it the Middle East. Yeah, that place. Yeah, I mean, the people that run the post office stuff over in the Army and the USO people are just great, and they got it to me. But I'm surprised, because I'm afraid when I travel on gigs to put my guitar underneath the plane.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we weren't worried about that because, it's like a $600 Takamine, and it made me so happy because I'm out there with, just scared, and it's like this really calmed me down. It was nice to have on downtime.
Yeah. So. What was it like getting fresh strings? Was that even an option?
No, and you had to deal with the heat and the weather of where I was, and I just got used to it. I mean, people have stringed instruments out in the hot places, so they make it work,
Yeah.
So
yeah, as they say, it was a dry heat though, right?
Yeah, I mean, it depended. Some places we were was humid, and it's just depending where we were, but. I mean, the main thing is I got over the 3 months of the calluses on the hand, because a lot of people give up after a month because they're like, I don't want to deal with this. And they see their hands and they're like, look at this ugly crease. But once you're over that, you're good. And I'm not saying I'm a great guitar player, but I do enough to write songs and accompany myself, and that's all I need. So
yeah. Now, when you're writing, are you charting out G, C, D? Are you writing that kind of thing out with the lyrics, or are you just writing out the lyrics or voice memoing the lyrics and then working on the music part? How's that? How's your process?
It's either. So sometimes I hear a melody in my head or I have a concept, and then I will sing it into a voice memo, and I'll give it to my co-writer and say, hey, can you do something with this? And then he'll write a whole composition after that melody. Or other songs I've written, I would play G, C, D or whatever, and I'd have a whole song myself. I mean, the majority of the time it's an idea and a melody, and then I just send it to my co-writer. But there are some times when I will sit down, either play on piano too, and I'll just hash it out. So
Right. But you don't, I mean, do you have a notebook full of?
Oh yeah. I have on my phone. I'll have I use notes, and then I'll just mark over where G is, D, whatever, and or I'll use Nashville numbers, whatever I'm doing. So
right. Yeah, I mean, the only thing that works for me to capture those ideas is the voice memo app on the Apple iPhone. Is I think the most brilliant app that they've actually ever had on a phone.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I used to use Audacity when I was a teenager, and that's super old. That's do you remember that on the computers?
Oh yeah. Now, what do you actually? I see a mic over there. What are you recording to at your house there? What do you use?
So that's a Lawton Atlantis.
Yeah.
It's very similar to a Newman U47 kind of mic, and it's just good for demoing and stuff like that. That's what I use it for. I do, like I said, I do a lot of demo singing for people and do that. So it works.
Are you recording it to Logic, or what's the DAW that you're using?
I use Studio One because I can't do Pro Tools. That's just a whole nother life for me that I'd have to learn it. So
yeah. And it's also one of those things, I'm going through it right now. Once you learn it, I'm 13 years into it probably. I can't go to anything else because all of my sessions for 13 years are in that format, and B, I know how to use it. I can bang it out pretty quick, an idea in Pro Tools. But I've been tempted to try some other options, because Pro Tools has a monthly subscription model. They've got a perpetual model. They've got a model that you get it and it becomes outdated quickly. It's a pain, And
no, I know. It's a lot. I don't have time for that. I have a lot of stuff going on, but that's why I have engineers I hire or producers to hire. But just doing demoing and just doing my own songs for sending to a producer. Yeah. That's why I love Studio One, because it's intuitive. I taught it to myself. Just I taught myself guitar. It's one of those things where it's intuitive. Windows is intuitive. Other operating systems are not really intuitive. It's the same thing.
Yeah. So. Well, once you get into a universe. I was a Windows PC guy for years. And it's great and actually I used it every day at work. So it's great for, Word doc, Excel, things like that. But, when I was using PC products, it was when computers were, 256, the first CD burner. I'm showing my age, but that's what I had. And it just couldn't handle what I was trying to do with it. So I ended up in the Mac universe, and, for creatives to do audio, video, it's perfect for that. It's almost this is the direction for the creativity stuff. And this is for the business stuff. Kind of a format. And I'll get a bunch of pushback on that because there are a lot of guys that are using PCs because you can upgrade the RAM and you can do so much with them as far as building them out. But is what it is. Just pick something and kind of go with it. So you write, you record, then you have to put on the promoter hat or the promotions and do social medias. You've got management. Was it 313 management? Is that your?
Yes.
Tell me about them.
So they're great. There's a woman named Kim Patterson. She's won Management Company of the Year, I think twice already or 3 times at the Josie Music Awards. Mm-hmm. And she's one of the few women managers I've seen in country music, which is really exciting because there's mostly men.
Sure.
And, she's in California, originally from Pennsylvania, and she has a great roster of artists that are very talented. And I'm really excited to be on, the team.
Sure.
And so they do a lot for me. They will book, they will kind of strategize what single I'm going to do, branding. And they do a lot with that because it's hard for me. I just want to write songs. I don't want to sit here and be what is Jenny Grace?
Yeah.
What should she release? I just, it's too much. So.
It is very much too much. And we talk about it on the podcast quite a bit, that you've got so many hats to change, t-shirt designs and merch to sell. And
I have a great merch girl too. She's in New York and she's called Madam Merch.
Merch.
I know, isn't that a cool name?
That is a great name.
So if you ever need merch, she's awesome and she's like my friend too. So
okay.
We're working on merch now for like we're into like astrology stuff. So we're doing merch for like, the moon. She does like photographs of the moon and stuff. And we're into all that like Stevie Nicks stuff. So if you know about Stevie Nicks, like I love her and I'm just into all that weird stuff. So,
well, that leads us into a segue. So my wife had 7 years ago, I think it was, she said, and she's from Vermont. So,
very nice.
Yeah. So I kind of get where you're coming from as far as, and I've spent a lot of time in Vermont, beautiful state. Burlington has gone off the rails a bit, but, she 7 years ago said, we have to go to see the eclipse in totality. And I was like, well, can't we just see it from here? She's like, no, you have to see it in totality to feel it. In, like, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it because it was spiritual. I was in.
Yeah. No, you're talking about the Lionsgate in 2017.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I saw it.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff happened to me in 2017. 2017 was very, very, life-changing for many, many people on this planet. So yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So we went to Clemson, University in South Carolina and caught it in totality. And for I think the 4 minutes that it was, nighttime in the middle of the day, we heard, night bugs that, I don't know what's out there chirping and making those nighttime sounds, but boom, they woke up in the middle of the day and it was like, wow, there was no air. It was total stillness. It was so cool. And we were across the street from a frat house that had Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon blasting across the,
nice.
It was so cool. And, so we're talking about going to see, I think it's March 19th. We're going to drive to Kentucky and see it in totality somewhere there. But I'm reading a lot of articles that there's a lot of symbolic stuff going on with the two the paths of totality are crisscrossing, and there's an X marks the spot place in Ohio.
Yeah, now what is that? I wrote it down the other day because I was doing research.
Yeah.
I think, let me look right now. What's going on? Hold on. Let me put on my Stevie hat.
Yeah.
Jupiter and Uranus are like coming into conjunction, and they haven't been that way for like, I don't know, 1,000 years or something crazy. So that's like really big. And that's in the next 90 days, like a lot of crazy stuff's going to happen. And like, you need to be like aware. So.
Well, that's what I'm reading, and I'm like, do I leave my house area? Do I leave my household and go on this journey to see this thing? When there's crazy stuff, I mean, I saw, and it's on the internet, so it's got to be true, right? But there's, people saying that you need to make sure you have, plenty of bottled water and some food and all this stuff. And I'm like, what are you talking about? What, and, then there was something about, the cicadas where the X marks the spot where the two paths are going to cross. Like there's going to be a giant awakening of cicadas. How do you say them?
Cicadas. Yeah.
Yeah. Cicadas. And I'm like, well, I don't want to be in the middle of that.
It sounds like the Bible with the locusts,
Well, it's exactly what that kind of is where my mindset is as well. Like, okay, there's so much crazy stuff going on since, 2020.
I know.
It's just be icing on the cake for now. We have a horde of locusts that wake up that day.
I mean, I've learned to live like just by the day, just ever since I went into the army, because, you know, tomorrow's not promised kind of thing. And feeling that way at 17, it's like, I just feel like I just always lived that way ever since, you know, because you don't know what tomorrow is.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I totally agree. Speaking of the army, who's that fine young gentleman up on the wall back there?
Oh, that is my grandfather, Miller. His father was Mueller from Germany, and they changed it when they came here. And he served in the Marines in Korea.
Oh, wow. And that was in the 50s.
And then next to him, what?
That was in the 50s, right? Korea?
Yeah, he used to be an MP. So it's funny because I served in Intel, so he was MP, which is kind of like almost the same thing. Yeah. And then that's me over there in my dorky little uniform, but you can't see it, which is good because it's embarrassing.
Yeah. Did they make you cut your hair and all that kind of stuff?
No, it's not like G.I. Jane, but, you know, I got in trouble a few times because I, you know, didn't have my hair, like, I have a lot of hair, as you can tell, and, like, I would, like, try to put it in a bun, and, like, it was too big, and they get mad at me. I'm like, what do you want me to do? Like, I have thick hair.
Right, yeah.
So.
Yeah. And that's the only part of the military that I would struggle with, like, all the rules.
There's a lot of rules, but, you know, when you're 17, where, like, I was, I mean, you just do it, but I like if I was older, I think I wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah.
You know, so. I
mean, I guess it kind of, you know, teaches you to make your bed, have your rack organized, and, you know, don't be a pig pen, I guess. Yeah.
It kind of did clean me up because, you know, I grew up in a household where my parents were like, just kind of like chillax, you know, they're from the 70s. So it's like, or the 80s, and they're just like, whatever. Yeah. And we didn't really have a too strict of a household. So it's kind of like, okay, here's your room. I can't see the floor.
Yeah. Clean your room. Okay. Here's the closet door. Shove everything in.
It's like, just, you know, that's what happens when you got parents that are born in that era. So they're just like, you're good.
Yeah. So. That was my era for sure.
Yeah.
So let's check out another track. We're going to do Ghost. Ghost seems to be a really good song for you as far as your streams and that type of thing. What's the story?
Yeah, almost at 100,000.
Yeah, hey, everybody, go on there and stream it. We got to get it on to 100,000. What's the story and background on that one?
So I had like this great love with someone 7 years ago, and you know, it just like didn't work out because I don't know, whatever reasons, fate, whatever. And you know, it's just like I would see this person, I would see him at the gym, I'd see him like anywhere, and it's just like we just act like we don't exist. And I'm like,
oh, that's terrible.
This is like, yeah. And so I've been listening to a lot of like Taylor Swift, and it's funny. She has a lot of songs like that. And I feel like me and her could vibe about like this stuff. Because like, it's like, this is like the weirdest concept that we have in this era, that you will know someone and like, you could be totally in love. And then it's like, you're a ghost to each other. And it's like, what is this even? Like, I'm at the gym and I have to pretend like I don't know you. Like, what is this?
Yeah. It seems fake, right?
Everyone's fake. Yeah. And it's just, you know, it's sad. Yeah.
Yeah. It's sad. Well, let's check it out, and we'll badger some people afterwards.
Sure.
Ghost from Jenny Grace.
Did you think it would be easy to pretend you don't care, to forget about our past and hide away in your fear? You know you were never the same when you saw me for the first time. And the years go by, you live in denial. And how's it feel when they still bring up my name? I haunt you day and night. I follow you around this town. Though you try to run and hide, in your eyes the truth is found. And even though you made me a ghost, something
Yeah, that's another great track. I got a couple of things out of that one. Obviously the spaghetti western tremolo that's kind of at the beginning of the song sets that haunting kind of a tone. But it quickly turns into it's got a Tom Petty vibe for sure.
Yeah, so the guitar player, he is in a Tom Petty tribute, and I was so happy about that because I love Tom Petty. I was like raised on his music, and it's just fantastic. He's a classic,
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's definitely Tom Petty's from, I think, Jacksonville, Florida.
Yeah, but he's got like a rock country vibe.
Yeah.
What we're hearing in country music today. I mean, he always had that, I think, so.
Yeah. I think Breakdown was a banjo away from being a country hit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What was the song?
People don't realize that. Like Eagles, all these people were country.
Yeah. Well, it's what country became for sure. I mean, Eagles, for sure. Leonard Skinner is now, that I guess like Eric Church type of country. It's a lot. There's going to be a lot of purists, and my buddy Lyle that I just did a podcast with is kind of a purist type of country artist, and it's great. But it's interesting, and I kind of like that country. The country market accepted a bit edgier, distortion pedals, ended up rappers and all this.
Yeah.
They've kind of allowed a lot of different genres to come into it and be, a part of the game. So many different vibes.
That's why it's interesting, and it's like sometimes it gets out of control, I think. But I don't know if we even have genres anymore because everything's just so like fusion, it's just like, do we really have genres? Probably not, so.
Yeah. And I think the reason is, everybody's trying to do something that, is new and fresh. And the only way you can do that is put an 808 in the middle of a country song,
Yeah.
There's
so much hip hop and country now too. I think it's interesting. That really started in 2011 or 2012 with the hip hop and country, which is interesting. I think, even my song Driving with the Top Down was a little bit R&B. I don't know if you saw that on my YouTube, but, I wrote that song to really try to please like the mainstream. It's really not me, but it's very pop. It's got some R&B and a lot of people like it. People that don't even like country. And I'm like, okay, I'm glad you like it. Cause to me, it's too pop, but yeah.
Well, now I'm intrigued.
It's actually, it was picked up by Spirit Music a couple years ago. They had it for a little while to try to place it. Spirit Production Music. They're like they're under Spirit, but they place movies and stuff because it's got like, it could easily be in a Jeep commercial and stuff,
Right,
so.
Right. Is that on Spotify?
No, it's on YouTube. There's a video.
Okay.
So
Driving with the Top Down. I'm going to definitely check that one out.
Yeah, check it out.
Yeah. The other thing on that last track that I hadn't heard before was like a pronounced male background vocal, BGV, that was harmonizing with you. That sounded really cool.
Yeah, that was a guy that my producer Kent had worked with. I'm not sure his name.
Right.
But again, so many talented people in Nashville, so many singers, and I'm sure it was just somebody who could get up there and sing with me because I think that song's pretty high. It's decently high. So.
Yeah. Well, you definitely have. Again, you have your main vocal, and then there's a harmony part that is up here. I'm like, holy
good,
cow.
yes,
yeah. How is that? Like when I'm playing guitar, if I'm doing a guitar solo, and like a turnaround at the end of a guitar solo needs a harmony line, it takes me a few playbacks to work out what that harmony is. And I think that there are some singers that just automatically hear harmony because they do it so well. It's got to be something that comes natural to them. So for me, I have to kind of work it out, and I'll find a part and make it work, get it to work. But when you're doing harmonies with yourself, does it come natural?
Yeah, it's like blending. It's easier. Because I know my tones, like when I harmonize with other people, sometimes it's harder because I'm like, I don't know their tone and I'm not blending.
Or their run, their
yeah,
go-to
exactly.
run.
You don't know where they're going.
Right.
So, I mean, harmonies are always hard though. I mean, that they're never, I don't think they're ever going to be easy.
Right.
So.
But when they're on, they really sound good.
Yes, agreed.
And then that track had a driving kind of a vibe to it. I noticed the bass guitar on that track was just jam. I mean, it was jamming. It was moving. I wrote down driving bass. Was that the producer saying, or just the guys in the band working out the song and going, okay, this is where we're going with it?
I think it's just a really good rhythm guy that was hired for the track. And I think it's crazy because they did kind of go crazy on this track. Like, this is like a Tom Petty like jam. And I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I think it's great because, I mean, some of my music is like, like Ghost especially. It's like, whoa, like this is like a freight train off the rails. Like, you wanted me to be calm, and we're like, just, we're a million miles an hour. And that's how I am in real life. Like, I'm just very like energetic, people that know me. So they, this is something I would write. But yeah, I mean, I think he was doing what my voice was doing. I was all out too. I was like, listen, I'm mad and we need to rock out.
Yeah.
So
it definitely seems that it's kind of more in your rock wheelhouse.
Yeah, it's very rock, but it's very Stapleton, and it's still got the Western vibe. And if you've seen the video, I mean, that is in literal Joshua Tree in California. So we couldn't get any more Western than that. Yeah,
no doubt.
So.
Hey, tell me about that video shoot. What was that like? And Joshua Tree is that's kind of in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it was kind of scary. So we drove out with just my videographer and me, and he was like, bring water, bring food, like. It was like, oh, geez. So I went out there and, it's like legit, like it's the desert and it's very hot there. There was desert flies that attacked us. Like they came into the car and we couldn't even get them out of the car. We're driving through the desert and they're like in the car and I'm like freaking out. And I'm like, oh my God, they won't leave the car. And it was so scary. We heard coyotes out there, like packs of coyotes.
Yeah.
We heard, we saw a plane that looked like a UFO, but probably most likely it was like a Lockheed thing, but it looked like a UFO. And my videographer's like, yeah, that's fine. We see him out here all the time. I'm like, okay.
Was that in the daytime?
What the heck is going on?
Daytime or nighttime?
It was dusk. And it's so beautiful in the desert because it's very, lonely, which was great for the song. The song's eerie. So it was like perfect. But like, there's just such a desolation that you don't see anywhere else in the world, and it's just, California is just beautiful all in all, like everywhere you go. So, yeah,
I think California's got, obviously amazing coastal.
Yes, beautiful.
And then it's got mountains. Aren't the Sierra Nevadas in California?
I think so, yeah.
I think so too.
I mean, there's everything. I wish like, I would have moved there a long time ago because things are just so expensive now and it's like so unaffordable,
Yeah. Yeah.
Like even rich people are moving out, so.
Yeah. Well, there's lots of reasons for that. There's still also people wearing masks and pooping in the streets. So
I know, it was funny. Like I was there in March 2022 and I had a fever and they wouldn't see me at the hospital because I had a fever. And I was like, that's why I'm at the hospital. And they're like, oh, well, like with those symptoms, you can't be seen.
Wow.
I was like, why do we have doctors?
Yeah.
Like,
isn't this kind of your job?
So like I went back to the hotel, like out of it because my fever was so high. And I was like, wow, I could have died in the elevator and like, she wouldn't even have cared,
Wow.
But that's the whole COVID, like, oh my God, like you can't come in here with symptoms. And I didn't have COVID, but that's how they are. And California was overwhelmed with that stuff too. So to be fair.
Yeah. But it was also, it was also just lunacy.
I mean, it's just hypocrisy in so many levels.
You can't be on a paddleboard on a vacant beach. Paddleboarding.
Yeah.
I mean, that's.
Oh, I don't know anything that went down there. I mean, they must have been worse than where I was in the East Coast, because I went home for COVID. I wasn't even in Nashville.
Yeah.
And I probably should have stayed in Nashville, because up where I lived, it was the same crap. You couldn't go to restaurants. The gyms were closed. I was like doing workouts outside. I was like throwing rocks. I was like, I'll throw boulders, whatever.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. I was in Georgia, obviously, and and we shut down from March to May, and the shutdown was what was it, 2 weeks to flatten the curve?
Yeah.
And I was like all about that. Let's go. I need a break.
Yeah.
And I need studio time, so I'm going to get to work. Let's go. And then after the 2 weeks, it was, we need 30 more days or something like that. And I'm like, this is kind of, I've never seen anything like this before. So just go with the flow. But they let us go back to kind of, normal 6 feet social distancing. You have to wear a mask and like all these kind of things. And hindsight, looking back at it, it was a bit extreme. I think that we all were told to do something and we did it. That's where I feel bad for myself. It's like, oh man, you got me. You tricked me.
I know. It's
you
just
tricked
like
me.
It's just stupid. I mean, there's always been pandemics. Like, just calm down. Like, I mean, it was scary. Like, COVID's scary, but like, there's always gonna be mass panic with people, though. Like, if you told people there was aliens, like, I mean, people would freaking die.
Well, no, they are over the past 5 years, probably maybe 7, maybe 10. It's just like kind of leaking out information and video clips from, hey, if I see a USAF jet fighter captain with footage of something he doesn't have any idea, it's like, I'm flying around. What is that? If it startles him, it startles me. And now they're just releasing it into Congress like, we've got all this information.
I mean, I've known that since I was 17, because I was, whatever I did in the military. It's like, okay, like I was not like, I knew very young. But yeah, I mean, we live in a certain society where we like don't talk about things, which is fine. But I mean, the truth's going to be out there no matter what. And they can't really hide it much longer. So
yeah, I don't know if they want to hide it. It seems like, oh yeah, it's out there.
Yeah.
Do with it what you think.
Yeah, they've been better about it for sure. So.
Yeah. Well, we digress, going down UFOs and COVID. But as far as your gigging and touring and stuff like that, I did notice that you happen to be playing in my hometown, like literally in my stomping grounds in the hills of North Carolina. You're going to be playing in Sugar Grove for Watauga County. I think it's a benefit for kids or some sort of thing.
Yeah,
like
it's for the Children's Center, Community Center, and I'm opening up for a pretty prominent regional band, Tuesday's Gone.
Okay.
And I love Leonard Skinner, so that's going to be awesome to watch those guys. And I love, the Appalachian, North Carolina. I just love it. It's beautiful there, and I'm really excited to go. Yeah. April 20th. So.
April 20th. Now, is that an event that I can send my friends from up there to go see?
Sure. There's tickets. If you go to my Instagram and my website, jennygracemusic.com, there's tickets on how to do that. So.
All right. I'm going to send my best friend from childhood. This is the guy that taught me my first cowboy chords.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. In 1985, he and I went to see a movie called Back to the Future.
Nice.
And as soon as I saw Marty McFly get blown across the room by that giant speaker, I was like, Greg, I've got a guitar at home. You know how to play. I've got an amplifier too. Show me how to play. And we went home that night in 1985, and I haven't stopped playing since. You know?
Oh yeah, I mean that's why John Mayer started, because he literally saw Marty McFly playing.
Yeah, I mean,
so it's like, imagine how many people that movie inspired. You know?
Yeah, that's actually a good point. I never thought of I'm an idiot that was inspired by it. I'm sure there were other idiots.
So is John Mayer. So.
Yeah, but John did a little better than I did.
I think he was obsessive. Yeah.
Yeah, in some ways. I'm very happy with the journey that Six Strings have taken me on. You know, who would have known that impetus of a scene in a movie I'd still have, I'd still be inspired to record, and inspired to learn how to record on a computer, and to learn all of this stuff was all because Marty McFly.
Yeah, well, my parents named me Jenny because of Forrest Gump. So I mean, look at that.
Jenny.
It's like, and it's like, that's not even a good character to name me after, but hey, she was at least beautiful. So.
Yeah, it worked. It made him run across the country.
Yeah, it's a good movie though.
Yeah, it is. Actually, I've seen it maybe once or twice, and I probably should go back and check that out. Are there any old movies like that you have gone back to watch recently, and has it had a different effect on your original take?
Yeah, I mean, Forrest Gump came out when I was really little, and before I was born, I don't know, but I watched it recently, and I was like, this is crazy. This movie is kind of historically accurate, but also just really good acting on Tom Hanks's part, and just a really good story. And I didn't appreciate it when I was younger because I don't know what's going on, but it's definitely American cinema classic, I would say, one of the top. Yeah.
Was that a Spielberg movie?
I'm not sure, but I just know that my parents were obsessed with it, and whatever. I mean, I guess that's my name. So
that's awesome. We're gonna look up Forrest Gump, and who I'm thinking that it was how about Gary Sinise, Lieutenant Dan's character? Oh
yeah, he was great. I mean, I don't understand how he was so much I've been around military guys. He was he was legit a military guy.
Yeah, and still is. And still is. You said something earlier, and I want to backtrack to it. The USO. Is it USO?
USO, they're big with the military.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about trying to get on that tour?
Yeah, we're looking into it. I would love to. When I was younger, I was selected to do a USO tour. Actually, I was still in the Army.
Oh, wow.
And it was a singing, and I was going to tour. I was going to go Germany, whatever else. But I was stop lost because of my MOS, and
What does that mean? I don't. What's MOS?
Oh, stop lost is MOS. I was in intelligence and intel analyst. They needed me. I was a high value MOS. So I said, you know what? I mean, honestly, if the mission needs me more, that's more important than singing. But I was really upset because I was about to do a USO tour singing, and I would have been jump starting my music career, and that was definitely upsetting at 19. But then even I was talking to my dad, and it's well, of course I signed up to do intelligence, and that's what I'm going to do. And the mission came first. So
yeah, well, that makes sense. So I've got Forrest Gump was directed by Robert Zemeckis.
Oh wow, I never heard of him. Okay.
Yeah, it definitely is an iconic movie as far as the story and everything. But the crazy part for me was the Bubba Gump shrimp. The shrimp.
Oh yeah, he was such a good actor. Yeah. I was so sad when he was wounded, and it's funny, my grandfather.
Yeah.
He was shot like that, the same way Forrest Gump was shot, and he was shot, and he got the Purple Heart, and he carried people out.
Yeah.
Well, they were getting mortars were coming down, and my grandfather was running through and carrying someone the same as Forrest Gump. And I remember I still have some of his stuff. I have his Purple Heart, and all his papers, and it's like crazy. Like he was like wounded. He was like recovering for like 6 months.
Yeah.
And my grandmother was like waiting for him throughout that whole time. And like, imagine receiving a letter and he's like, dear, whatever, like, I'm in the hospital. It's like, oh my God. Like I couldn't even imagine, like the stuff they went through is crazy.
Yeah. And no ability to FaceTime. I mean, we're so spoiled.
No, she waited for him so long, like 3 years. I'm like, oh my God, no girl would ever do that these days. You know?
Yeah. Well, the attention span is 35 seconds of a TikTok video.
Yeah, it's like they're on an app. They're like, nope, you didn't answer the phone.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Yeah, swipe left.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Again, we digress. But we are going to listen to, we're going to check out Storm. And this is one of your newer tracks, yes?
Yeah, it's new. I wrote it in 2014, but it was just produced in November of last year. So.
Oh, nice. Anything you want to tell us about the background story on that?
So I grew up, like I said, in New England. So there was a lot of like weird weather, kind of the weather that Nashville goes through, where like you'll see the sky and it's like freezing. It's like 50 degrees and it's like thunderstorming or whatever. And it's scary weather. It's kind of depressing. And, a lot of people where I grew up, like in Vermont and Connecticut, there's nothing much to do but like drink, like because you're in the middle of nowhere and you're like in horrible weather. Our winters are like 9 months long.
Sure.
It's not like Nashville where you have, you'll have summer start in March and it will end in, November.
Yeah.
Like in New England, you'll have winter like all year round, and then you'll have maybe like May, June, and July, August are hot, but that's it. Like the rest of the year is freezing, and like so people, they do a lot of drinking, and there's a lot of like substance abuse. So I kind of wrote it about like that mood, which is New England, which is like dark.
Yeah.
So
all right, well, let's check it out. This is Storm from Jenny Grace.
Skies are coming through, your lightning strikes and it's nothing new. The wind is picking up and the sun is going down on you. Moving on with someone new, what we had is in the rear view. I wish we could go back, but there's nothing we can do. I feel a storm coming, I feel the earth moving, I feel my heart start to beat when I get scared of you. I feel a storm coming, it's ripping through, yeah. The tears are falling and the wind is howling through the trees. Yeah, there's a storm coming. Yeah, there's a storm coming. Looking up ahead in the distance, I swear it's gonna swallow me whole. I can't hide, I have to face it head on, 'cause I can only run for so long. I feel a storm coming, I feel the earth moving, I feel my heart start to beat when I get scared of you. I feel a storm coming, it's ripping through, yeah. The tears are falling and the wind is howling through the trees. Yeah, there's a storm coming. Yeah, there's a storm coming. Lightning strikes, the truth comes out, the skies are falling down. Yeah, there's just one more chance to say you're sorry now. I feel a storm coming, I feel the earth moving, I feel my heart start to beat when I get scared of you. I feel a storm coming, it's ripping through, yeah. The tears are falling and the wind is howling through the trees. I feel the mountains calling, I hear the thunder rolling, the
All right. So on that track, you have you get the award for in the chorus. It says "ripping through, yeah, yeah." Ripping through, yeah, yeah. How in the world? Well, how and why did you throw that in? Did you need cadence, or tell me about yeah, yeah?
I mean, I grew up on Carrie Underwood's music, and so many of her songs, like she's like, yeah, yeah, and like it's just like a thing. I think cadence and
Yeah.
with these type of fast and anthemic songs that
Yeah.
are like power vocals, I think you need something. It's got to be symmetry in the lyrics too. So
Yeah. It's ripping through. Pause. Wouldn't have made the same effect on me hearing it as
no,
ripping through. Yeah, yeah. It just boom, 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 and the chorus itself. Let's just talk about the chorus itself. Is like you said, anthemic. It's just it's a banger there.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a really cool track. And that's is that on some new release material or?
Yeah, that's been released. There's a video out for it.
Yeah, we played the video.
I released it early this year.
Yeah. All of these tracks, the videos are on when we play this, and all of it's brilliantly done, and
thank you.
It's very good songwriting. It's very good production, very good performances. That's why I think you reached out to us, and you were like, "Hey, let's do a podcast." And I think we tried to get this thing to work like a day or two after you said, "Hey, let's do it."
Yeah, I was in like traveling, so
Yeah.
I was probably like.
Yeah. How
tired.
did you find us? How did you see us?
I saw you guys in one of the Nashville forums, and
Okay.
I don't know if you were commenting or what you were doing, but I was like, "This looks interesting," and you guys were looking for people, and I was like, "Let's do it."
Hey, that's the whole point of, and it's funny you say that because when I do a video post, I post it to a bunch of different groups, and one of them is Nashville. I've got one group that's Nashville, and I feel bad now because some of my artists that I've done podcasts for, I'll get to the Nashville one and I'm like, they don't really fit, and I'll skip over it. And I started recently going, no, screw it. Nashville needs to see this too. And you happened to see it and reached out to us, and boom, on the show. And I guess
I go through a lot of the stuff. I'm very like computer nerd, so I'm always online. I'm always online, so I always see a lot of stuff, and I like to, just kind of like put feelers out there because I'm not like. I think a lot of stuff's done online now. I don't know how much stuff is done at like a cafe and people talk. People don't even talk to each other. When you go to like anything, they're like this the whole time.
Sure.
Yeah.
In speaking of cafes, have you the Bluebird? Have you been to?
Yeah,
to
I
that?
played there 2018. Actually, I played at one of the open mics. So.
Oh, nice. That's kind of an iconic place. Yeah.
It is, and it's come a long way. I played there when I was younger. When I was like, I think 15, I went there once, and
Wow.
I did the open mic too. And she was like, "You can play here whenever you want," and I was like, "I don't live here, but I would love to."
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's so many people that have come through there. I mean, Taylor Swift was discovered there.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody. It's a great place.
I think Garth was involved in the Bluebird.
Yeah, he might have been. Yeah, I actually saw him last year. I was at my producer's place, and he was on his, like, he has a Gator, and he was driving it on the road, and like, it must have been near his like house, and I saw him on the road, and I was in front of him. It's like, what is this guy doing? Isn't this illegal to drive this down the street?
Yeah, and then you look and you're like, oh damn, that's Garth.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, hopefully he doesn't crash into me.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier, Kid Rock. Have you happened to see his, I think his house is like way up on a hill where you can kind of see it, right?
I haven't seen his place. I just saw him on Joe Rogan, though. I watched the podcast, and that was really interesting. to see. But I've been to his bar, but I have never seen him. No.
Sure. So did you watch the Rogan episode in full?
Not all of it, but most of it. And I was surprised, like, how calm he is.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if he was smoking, but he was pretty calm. Like, he's pretty, like, legit, like, even keel guy. And I wouldn't expect that. So
did you see the part where he tried to get Joe to come to Christ?
No, I have to watch that part. That
it's near the end.
Well, Joe actually recently said he is, though.
You can tell. I get goosebumps again.
He just said like 2 weeks ago he came to Christ. Yeah, he like announced it. So I'm so proud. Thank God, finally. You know.
Yeah. I mean, a guy like that, where you can literally watch a transformation over 10 years of doing his podcast and seeing where he's kind of come from and where he's at. I think COVID had a lot to do with a big change for him. It seemed like the loss of being able to do comedy was extremely eye-opening for him. And for us as artists, the loss of being able to, play shows and get out in front of people, which is kind of where we get our superpower to keep going. Yeah,
I know.
Yeah,
it was crazy. I played shows and there was like people with masks on in the audience. And I felt bad. Like,
yeah, because you can't.
It was a thing.
Yeah, you can't sing full voice without spittle. Let's be honest. You can't.
But when I would go back in the back room, they would yell at me in the green room if I didn't have my mask on. I remember that. That was crazy. I can't believe that was crazy.
Yeah. I think that changed a lot of people's kind of perceptions on life and where you live and all that kind of stuff. And,
like I said, it didn't affect me because I'm used to weird stuff in the military. But for people that are like the average civilian, like, they like definitely, their world was upside down for sure.
Yeah. My thing was mostly, I'm obviously extroverted. I like talking to people and hearing their stories. And it was like, no, you got to stay in your basement, son. Oh, man. Do I really? Okay.
Yeah, it was so weird. Like, definitely. I remember like just, luckily like where I live up north, I have land and I was just like, I just go on my property and do that every day. But like people that are in apartments, that must have been horrible,
Yeah. And that brings me to this, and then we're going to land the ship here. But I think I saw a picture of you on a motorcycle or with a motorcycle helmet. Do you ride ATVs and motorcycles, that kind of stuff? What's the deal?
Yeah, everything since I was a kid.
Nice.
I have a Triumph Triple R right now.
Nice.
And, raced on bikes, raced on ATVs, quads. I have quads in my house right now. Like, it's just, I don't know. I'm very much a tomboy since I was a kid. So.
Yeah. I think that, since we can't have horses and go out on the range like they used to do in the old days.
Yeah.
That was a mental tranquility type of thing. You have a job to do, but you're also on back of a horse in silence, in nature, in sunlight, getting your vitamin D. It's therapeutic to be able to go and do those types of things. Is riding like that for you?
Yeah, it's just, it's definitely like, you get serenity from it. And I think you're right. I think it's a modern day horseback, and to me, like, I just like guys that ride. Like, that's my thing. It's just attractive to me. It's like a modern day, like, knight and a horse. Like, it's cool.
Yeah.
And I don't know how people don't ride because they like knock it, but they never even tried it. And I'm just like, you have no idea, like, what you're missing on like a summer day with like, the wind in your hair. Like, come on.
Yeah. So. Now, is it, and I know what my answer is to this, but is it the speed? Or is it the freedom, or is it the twisties? What is it that brings you into the riding?
I mean, I think speed. I'm a sport bike person.
Yeah.
So I like that. And, the torque and how everything can just be like really quick, and stuff like that. And it's also the freedom to be able to do that. You feel your body one with the wind, and you're just like visceral. And that to me, now listen, I'm not going to say it's safe. It's extremely dangerous.
Yeah.
But you know what? I feel like so many things in our lives are dangerous. Driving is dangerous too. So.
Yeah. And unfortunately, most of the time it's dangerous because other people.
I know that's been so many of my problem, and I don't really ride too much in Nashville anymore. Only on really windy roads because I've ridden downtown, and I've been like a box truck one time, like almost like put me against a wall, and it was just like, really, dude, like you're not even looking, like it's just scary. So I just really stay on winding roads now. Yeah,
and that's a good point. Is they're not looking. And
they don't even look. They're on their phone. Yeah,
I was going to say they're on their phone. And the twisties on a good country 2-lane road, you can go as fast as you want, or you can just go and just float through the turns. For me, the biggest thing for me that brings it back to being a kid was the thermals on a summer day. You're riding in the open sun, it's warm, feels good. Then you go into a section that's kind of, covered with the trees, and there might be what they call it back home, a holler that has a stream that you're riding by, and all of a sudden you get a burst of cold air, and you're like, oh, wow. So you're going through warm air, you're going through, the chilly thermals, and yeah, that's for me what it's all about.
Yeah, I rode home one night last year. I was in the middle of nowhere, Connecticut, coming home from a party, and I took back roads, and like there's no streetlights, and that was so cool to me. Like I felt like I was on like a mission, back in the Army. I was like, this is so like, it's scary too, because like you're at a stoplight and there's like nothing around, and you're like, wow, like I don't even like, how can I protect myself now? I'm like on a bike. Like it's just different being in a car. You're protected. Like on a bike, like you're kind of like vulnerable, you know? Yeah,
absolutely. To the elements and to,
to whoever's walking around. You're at a stoplight, right? It's just, or you're at a stop sign. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, that's also what's intriguing about it.
It is. It's fun. Yeah.
Well, tell everybody where they can find everything Jenny Grace.
Sure. So I am on Instagram, Jenny Grace Official, TikTok, Jenny Grace Nashville. My website is jennygracemusic.com, and YouTube, you can just Google Jenny Grace.
Okay. Awesome. And then Spotify is also just Spotify Jenny Grace. It pops up artists. Go check out the music. And
I got more music coming. I got a single dropping April 6th. So that'll be exciting.
Awesome. So are you in the recording process right now, or what are you doing as far as right now?
Yeah, it's all recorded.
Oh, okay.
It's like a more mellow song, because a lot of my songs are like very like in your face, like Storm.
Yeah.
But this one's very mellow, and it's got that singer-songwriter vibe. So I'm excited.
Awesome. Right. Well, I really appreciate you reaching out to us and having really good material for me to say immediately, yes, please, let's go.
Thank you.
I will also send my friend, my buddy Greg Reese, if he comes up to you and says, we did the podcast with my buddy.
Yes, for sure.
You'll meet one of my oldest friends.
I'm excited to go to that area. So
yeah, it's going to be cool. So, all right. Well, when your new stuff drops, reach out to us and we'll have another chat.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Jenny.
Bye.
You're watching the Original Music Podcast.